After the recession, a few years back, government had to keep its spending levels up to try and increase demand in the economy, because the economy was particularly weak, so it was providing that level of support. But its revenue declined very sharply, and so it had to borrow a lot of money to do this. Unfortunately, what that means is that government debt has been building up. It has to pay interest on that debt, and that interest bill is beginning to increase. You can't continue doing that indefinitely. And I think in this budget is the one that's going to show up. And it's going to show up in two ways. Firstly, he's going to constrain expenditure. And also, in terms of revenue, he's going to come to us to look for more money. He's made the numbers clear already in the medium-term budget policy statement. 12 billion rand in the new fiscal year, 2015-16. Followed by another 15 billion rand in 2016-17. Now the fiscus is going to try and do that firstly through improving its efficiency in tax collection, but of course the large portion of that money will have to come from higher taxes. So the question in this budget is which taxes and how much?
We all have become quite accustomed to the minister giving us all a bit of room to breathe with adjusting income tax. But this year is likely to be slightly different. There's likely to be an increase in income tax and some of the other taxes.
He's got to see it in the context of broader goals of government, and one of those, of course, is to maintain growth and employment in the economy. So if you have a choice of income taxes relative to indirect taxes, indirect taxes are taxes on spending, income taxes are taxes on the income that you earn, your salaries, your wages, the profits of companies. Includes also wealth taxes. If he goes primarily for income taxes, the problem with that is that it disincentivizes people and companies to work, to invest and to save.
Savings has been a big topic of conversation for the country, for the minister specifically. We are a nation of very poor savers. We are not good at saving. From the beginning of March this year, we see the introduction of the tax-free savings account. Now, this is a specific vehicle that the Minister of Finance has created to allow us to save and get some tax benefit for saving. The other thing that the budget speech is also likely to address is retirement reform. A big concern is that not enough South Africans are saving sufficiently to be able to retire comfortably.
Retirement fund reform and social security reform has been very high up on the government agenda since around 2007, best part of a decade. We've got a new finance minister coming in this year. Will he continue on the course plotted by the previous minister, Pravin Gordhan, who drove this issue very vigorously, or will this perhaps be lower down on the new minister's agenda? What we do know in the last year was that the so-called T-Day reforms for 1 March 2015 were postponed to 1 March 2016, and they may even be kicked further down the line. We'll have to see. Those would have equalized the tax treatments of pension funds, provident funds and retirement annuities, and they would have introduced for the first time a rand tax-deductible cap of 350,000 per annum on what wealthy individuals can contribute to retirement funds.
In this particular instance, the minister may introduce a range of measures, perhaps a little bit on income tax. Perhaps it is possible that high income earners pay a little bit more income tax, and then perhaps some increases in the indirect taxes. The fuel levy, we know that the oil prices collapsed, that fuel prices have collapsed. This may be an opportunity to increase that tax to some extent. I'm not expecting a increase in VAT in this particular budget. It may not be necessary, we'll have to wait and see, but certainly sin taxes. It is also possible that we have taxes on wealth and savings products. For example, capital gains tax, dividends tax, tax on the interest income that you receive. He may do some increases there as well. But the overriding message of this budget, in my opinion, will very definitely point to we need to stabilize fiscal policy. We can't keep borrowing at this pace indefinitely. The problem with borrowing and continuing to borrow and building up levels of government debt is that you create a liability that future generations need to pay back. And of course, we don't want to leave future generations with that legacy. So the budget covers a whole range of issues. And once the Minister has finished reading the budget in Parliament on 25th of February, we'll be unpacking what all of this means for the individual and for the economy at large.